spread, different.
Yeah, you just lose a lot of frustration, right? Because I've had it where I enter a trade, maybe have a big lot size, a small stop loss, and on one account it's like a 1% loss, another account's like 1.5%, another one 1.3%. So you just remove a lot of stress from all of this. It's way better.
And trade copiers, do you have one you use specifically? Or recommend?
Traders Connect.
Traders Connect.
I've used social trader tools, but they did fuck up once where my positions were basically placed twice and I didn't see it. So they doubled my risk. And it was a loss, obviously.
Just how it is
happens.
sometimes, eh?
Yeah.
Okay, and have you found there's a sweet point of funding where after this certain funding amount, it was more headache than it needed to be, or is it just more is better?
Now it became a headache with prop firms, losing MetaTrader, doing DX trade. Now it's a headache. I think it's like 3 million, 4 million is the best to have. You have the good prop firms, they pay out, no stress, fast payouts, just use those. That's what I'm saying.
Which prop firms have you had the best experience payouts from, and the ones you would say, these are my go-to firms?
I don't really like to say specific names also in every video I do. I've never had any affiliation with any because I obviously get approached by every single prop firm. I'm funded with all of them. So I just give my straight up experience. So I've made videos about the props, and I've even posted the ones I'm funded with. But usually the biggest ones, I don't know. It's just the biggest ones. Funded engineer, let's say, funding peeps, Alpha Capital, which Kimon also trades with. They're very nice. Usually the problems that actually care about you trading. Like if you actually have an issue, they're going to fix it for you. Not just going to say, oh, it's not our problem, right?
What is your plan moving forward? So you've clearly dominated the prop firm space. Despite the lows, you've had incredible highs, and at the end of almost a year, you've almost put $1 million. It's incredible. And now you also reached a point where you can't really squeeze more funding. You're basically with all the good firms, and unless you go for all the little riskier firms, you're at the peak, I guess. Yeah. Or do you think you could squeeze a few more million out?
Not really, to be honest. I think like 7 is the max I can do, and probably my goal is to have that set up, and then what I want to do is once I have all the accounts break even, I will do 6 figures in a personal account and then copy from that, because I want to also build like a proper
personal
account and just have that track record to then go for private capital. Okay,
so that's what I wanted to kind of figure out. Like, what does the next few years hold, where you've kind of reached a good ceiling in assets, you're doing a consistent return, you're not asking for the world, just a few % a month, and that's feeding your lifestyle and even investments. Is there plans to scale up and do more, or are you actually comfortable here and you're making a good living?
I always have to scale up. So my plans for trading, my plans are very big. In the next 5-10 years, I want to go to manage maybe 100 million, 50, 100 million private capital.
ebook, yes.
Yeah, obviously ebook, direct liquidity provider, not just a broker. But I think trading is a very good skill set where if you know what you're doing and you can do it consistently, then just bring more capital and make more money. So that's my goal for the next few years.
What do you think you'll need to learn, tweak, or achieve to go from prop firms and B-book to now investor capital, real money, A-book, and maybe different trading conditions?
I know it's going to be easier actually, because you have usually if you have a direct LP connection, you're going to have very good commission, very good spread, very good execution. So you just throw that part out of the way. Also, you don't have any slippage on news, events, stuff like that. I think the biggest thing is just going to be, again, it's a new level, right? Same in trading capital and then profit. You make $100, you feel like it's a lot. Then you make 1K, it's like, damn, that's crazy. Then you make 10K in a day. Then you make, I don't know, 100K in a month. It's just levels. Once you get used to them, it's just, you get used to it. Yeah. So I'll have to take it slow probably. Yeah.
Slow and it's another mountain to climb. Yeah. But I want to get to, you are 6-7 years in the markets, which is longer than most that we see online. You've done almost $1 million or $1 million in payouts, and then almost 7 million in management. There's a lot of lessons you've probably learned along the way. Obviously, we can sit on a podcast and talk about the highs, but I'm sure there's lows, which we've covered. But what about lessons? What are the key things you've learned inside the markets and outside the market?
Trading is the thing that gives you a lot of lessons for sure, and they hurt. So I've had, the usual losses. I took big losses when I was trading personal capital. That's when I had my biggest losses, obviously. Like 2020, I lost like 50, 60K to gold. Just before the Russia-Ukraine war.
On a personal account?
Yeah, so
Ouch.
I knew gold was going to go long. I stacked positions. I wasn't paying attention to my margin level. And then it just weakened me by 30 or 40 bips and then blew up. And that was I had to take a break from that. But there's a lot of lessons. I think trading is a direct representation of yourself as a person. So once you pass something in trading, like a barrier or something, you also pass one yourself, right? So lots of lessons, over trading and over leveraging, you go through that. I think you have to go through every mistake to actually go over it. Because even me mentoring people, I've mentored people and I consider myself a very good person when it comes to psychology, because I've actually studied how the mind works, whatever. So when someone has a problem that I went through, you can give them the solution that you did, but they're not gonna do it, right? Like you say, they need to do it themselves.
When it comes to psychology, which I think is a very interesting topic, it's something that is a buzzword. People use it too much, and at the expense of bad technicals, they mask it with psychology. I think everybody can agree that if first you figure out your technicals and then work on your psychology, which is maybe year 2, year 3 is something to work on.
I disagree with that.
Tell me, please.
Yeah, actually, I think psychology needs to be the first.
No way. Okay, explain to me why you believe this.
Because that's what I did. So I didn't know I was going to trade, right? But first I'm not saying about psychology in trading. I'm saying about psychology in general.
You mean like willing to work hard, take risks, these kind of things?
So understand how you can program your mind. Because even us now, this point, like we're disciplined, we're consistent, right? We show up every day, gym, eat healthy, everything. That needs to have a base set up. So for me, it was from a background of playing sports, which helped me, but also studying like psychology. I read like 15 psychology books and I understood how I can program my mind. So if I do something wrong, maybe let's say I overtrade. Usually when people overtrade, they just get mad and then they do it again instead of focusing on the actual core problem that results into overtrading, right? Like the core principle that brought them there. So I do believe like before you start trading, you need to fix your psychology. You need to have your expectations in place. Because now with social media, you see trading, right? You're like, I'm going to make so much money. No, you need to know how to control your expectations always. I always say this, you need to have low expectations, not high expectations. If you have low expectation when it comes to trading, life, whatever, if you go into that with no expectation, then it's either you're going to be happy because maybe it works out, or you're just going to, you don't have any expectations anyways. So you just remove that,
I've seen this thing, it's called a survivorship bias, which is basically the guys on social media that you hear like, oh, I did this and this, I took all this risk, I went all in, whatever. And it worked out for them. So you see them on the internet, you're like, oh, that's what I need to do. But what you don't realize is they stood at the top of the mountain and they did that. What about all the people that did the same thing and it didn't work out, but you don't hear their story? So I think, that expectations or, what social media can portray is a little bit dangerous for these kind of reasons. But I do agree with what you said of a paradigm shift to go out of the norm. There's a matrix term, whatever, but I believe it's true. Like you got to have a different mindset to think different, do different, be different. You have to have something within you driving that. Otherwise, you're going to end up where the system puts you, which is the map in front of you, which is laid out, which is school and job and everything. We are doing something that is not ordinary and it's a little bit riskier and it's uncertain and there's no qualification. So it is something that requires a switch in your brain. What was it for you that took you out of the rat race, let's say?
So first of all, I want to ask you a question. When you first started making money, wasn't it easier to expand and do more money, like make more money from other?
For sure. But I think what for me was I didn't overthink, and I never overthink. I overthink a lot, but when I decide to do something, to take action, I don't overthink. I have an idea. I do a bit of due diligence, I assess myself, and then I go. Whereas people can be stuck in this planning stage of, let me get my psychology good, let me learn this, let me do this, let me prepare this, and you just end up thinking for a year.
But you know why that is? Because our brain, like us as humans, we have a survival mode inside our head, which the society puts us in that survival mode, because you have to work in order to have a place to sleep, in order to have food on your table. So 80% of our mind is occupied with just surviving. So how can a regular guy just, they get stuck into the rat race? They have to work the job.
It's true.
They don't have time to focus on psychology. They don't have time to make trading work. They're desperate to get out of that survival mode.
Yeah, so I want to hear your thoughts on this, because I have a very fortunate situation in my life, which is very reflective of why I'm in the position that I am. And that's down to my family and the opportunities I had. And it's the exact thing you said. If I was working 2 jobs and I had debt and I had kids, there's no chance I could have done what I've done. I was very lucky where I was in university, so I already had the backup in life. My dad was paying for everything, so I didn't have to worry about rent. I didn't have to worry about anything. So I had 6 years in a bubble where I could just take risks. And if all else goes wrong, or rent is paid, food is paid, and I'm going to get a degree at the end, that gave me a level of freedom and time to take these risks and learn, where I didn't have to pay for anything or have any responsibilities. And when I came to, for example, this podcast opportunity, I already had a financial backing and savings and these kind of things. So I didn't have to think and plan for a year. I just went, okay, let's do it. So life actually helped me, or my family and my blessings helped me. What would you say to someone that is not in the situation like I had, or, just they're in a more struggling situation, but they see trading as an opportunity. They look up to someone like you and see, he made it, so I can do it. What do you think they need to do step by step from their life, their mindset, to prepare themselves for the journey ahead?
It's a tough one, because there's 2 categories of people. There's the ones, let's say, over 30 that have a family, they have responsibilities. So once you get there and you're stuck, which I don't blame them, right? Because it's just, you have to do that. It's way difficult. I don't really have an advice for that, because I've never been into that position. But I guess you have to take some risk, right? You have to not go to trading, obviously. Try to build something based on the skill sets that you have. So maybe you work the job for like 5 years. You have some experience from that. You have to learn something, right? Use that skill set to try to build a business, right? Either as marketing, whatever you learn, sales. You have some skill sets that you can use, because otherwise, if you don't have any skill sets, then you just wasted your time here, right? So use that to start some servicing. Services now are just the best, especially online services.
Yeah, I agree. B2B or
sales.
You
can find something to use based on your skill set. If you don't have any skill set, then you can learn online. You take a few hours every day, but don't learn trading.
So why would you say that? Because trading is very easy or cheap to start. You don't need a qualification. You don't need to do any exams. It's very easy to access. Even prop firms are relatively cheap. Why would you say, therefore, trading is not the starter vehicle?
Because it can easily bring you down the rabbit hole where you cannot get out, right? You start investing money, and everyone loses money when they start trading. It's a fact, right? Even I knew that, and again, it's about expectations, right? I went into trading with the mentality that I'm going to lose money. So I'm not going to invest all the money I have into trading. Just going to take it slow, lose the money, go through it, and then, So that's why I'm saying it's riskier, and you need another source of income to feed trading until we actually can become profitable. If you're under 25, your family probably has a home. You have a place to live, so you don't have to go crazy. You can sit at home, eat at home. There's no shame in doing that while you either try to get some income started. Nowadays, you can start businesses with no money or work a job for a few months, save up some money, start something, right? But I do think trading needs to be like the second source of income.
I agree.
And then make it maybe your main one.
When it comes to this period in their life, or we went through the same, sacrifice is the main word. And you got to sacrifice something, whether that's your enjoyments, your luxuries, your finances, your lifestyle. There has to be a sacrifice. And for me, it wasn't a financial sacrifice, thankfully to my family, but the sacrifice was time. I had a very intense degree, and therefore I had to miss out on a lot of fun things at university to put in these extended hours for extended years before anything really started to happen. That period of sacrifice for you, what did that look like, and what did you do?
Again, it was time. So I didn't finish university, college, whatever. So just high school, and that was it. But that was also due to basketball. So I played, had to, let's call it retire. But yeah, I had an injury. So after that was just time. I remember I think I spent more than 1.5 years, maybe 2 years, just nonstop on the charts. I was sleeping like 2-3 hours a day. All I did was wake up, read something, gym, and then just spend the whole day on charts. The only time I was sleeping was when Asia session was starting for like 2-3 hours, and then wake up and go.
What did your friends and family think when you have no results, you've left basketball, and you haven't gone to university, and you're just obsessed with charts, which they don't understand?
Yeah, they don't understand. But in terms of friends, I had to leave that behind. So when I stopped playing basketball, because it was a big thing for me. So what happened was, obviously when you just play basketball, you're with your teammates, whatever, you don't see certain things. And then I had the injury, so I took like a 1 month break. I wasn't in that, circle of basketball, sports, whatever. And that month I just studied psychology and I watched YouTube videos. I wanted to become better. And when I came back, my first thoughts was, what am I doing here? So it was a big realization for me. It's like, that's not for me. And that's when I decided to actually be done with it, cut off all the friends that I had because they were all from the same background. Cut off everything, delete my socials, change my number. So I did a whole cut. But I was also young. I was like 17, 18. So I could do that. It was a fresh start. And then when it comes to family, obviously they don't understand. I tried to explain it to them. But
good luck.
Yeah, good luck. It just doesn't work. So, but they were supportive. So they were pushing me, you have to do something. I did start a business, e-commerce brand, so I used that to make some money. So I was kind of doing something, but nothing big. Still living with them. I actually had a period of time where I just left when I was 18 and a half, maybe 19. I wanted to, push myself out in the world. So I rented an apartment, just went to live by myself, even if I was going month by month, right? But I had to do that.
For the environment.
Yeah, I had, not just for the environment, just to throw myself out there, get out of the comfort zone, right? So I know how it is.
You're an extreme guy in that sense.
Yeah, exactly. So I had to experience the fact like you don't have enough money to maybe eat, or you have to budget yourself, right? Have, 10 euros a day for food or stuff like that. So it was a fun experience, but I had to do it just to grow, right? So yeah.
When I was and in university, and I was hungry. I was hungry to make things work out, and I wanted to do more with my life, but I didn't know where and I didn't know how. I just know I wanted to. Whereas other people have the mindset of I deserved more, and they always knew they'll be rich. They always knew they would make it. I didn't. I had uncertainty the whole way through. Uncertainty if I was good enough, if I could do it. More of self-doubt, and then skepticism on the routes I was choosing. Like, does trading even work? I was filled with doubt, and also questioning myself because my family would be like, "Why are you bothering when you have dentistry and all of this?" So my early days were just very uncertain and confusing. But what got me through was I knew I just had to show up and left foot, right foot, left foot. Just do the work. And I knew if I keep doing the work, eventually something has to come. I think that's just a law of life. Eventually cause, effect comes. When you look back at your journey, and you were a little bit different because you really throw yourself into discomfort, you go all in, you do harsh measures like block your friends and everything. Does that mean you were more confident in yourself and knew you're always going to be in this position? Or what was the mindset of earlier you?
That's a tough one. I don't believe anyone knows what they're gonna do. I didn't know I was gonna become a trader. Right?
Did you know you're always gonna be successful?
I knew that's the future myself. So the way I did it and what I studied is like, you need to understand, you need to see yourself in maybe 5 years. You need to see how you are, and not just in terms of money or success or whatever. What's your habits looking like? What's your thought process like, right? How you're feeling about certain things, what's important to you. And once you figure out that person in the future, then you just start to replicate that into the present.